To experience a fulfilling day in Tobermory, start with exploring the natural beauty of Fathom 5 National Marine Park, including a visit to Flowerpot Island and the grotto. Afterwards, enjoy the charming harbor town, maybe taking a glass-bottom boat tour or exploring the shops and restaurants. Tobermory is a small community located at the northern tip of the Bruce Peninsula, in Bruce County, Ontario. It is part of the municipality of Northern Bruce Peninsula. It is 300 kilometers, 190 miles, northwest of Toronto. The closest city is Owen Sound, 100 kilometers, 62 miles, south of Tobermory and connected by Highway 6. Naval surveyor Henry Bayfield originally named this Port Collins Harbor. 1. Due to similar harbor conditions, it was renamed after Tobermory, the largest settlement on the Isle of Mull in the Scottish Inner Hebrides. The community is known as the freshwater scuba diving capital of the world. 2. Because of the numerous shipwrecks that lie in the surrounding waters, especially in Fathom 5 National Marine Park. Tobermory and the surrounding area are popular vacation destinations. The town lies north of the Bruce Peninsula National Park. The MS Chichimon passenger car ferry connects Tobermory to Manitoulin Island in Lake Huron. Tobermory is also the northern terminus of the Bruce Trail and has twin harbors, known locally as Big Tub and Little Tub. Big Tub Harbor is Canada's largest natural freshwater harbor. 3. Tobermory is typically a few degrees colder than Toronto. Many businesses in the town are open from May until the Thanksgiving long weekend in October and are closed for the other 7 months of the year. In 1857, A.G. Robinson, the chief engineer for Lake Huron lighthouse operations, described the area as being totally unfit for agricultural purposes. 5. In 1869, public land surveyor Charles Rankin arrived in the area to resurvey the proposed road that would run through the center of St. Edmunds Township from the Lindsay Town line to Tobermory, Ontario Harbour. After 6 weeks of struggle to complete the task, Rankin and his crew returned to their base camp. He summarized in his report that the work had been one of the most troublesome explorations and pieces of line running which I have ever met with. 5. William Bull, a representative of the Indian Department, was sent in 1873 to explore the region to ascertain the amount of good agricultural lands and also the quality and quantity of timber resources. He reported that the town plot and some of the surrounding area were nearly all burnt off, leaving the white rocky ridges quite bare. Despite such warnings, during the 1870s and 1880s, the government sold tracts of land to prospective settlers under the guise of promoting them as agricultural lands. The result was chaotic. Some pioneers arrived and struggled to create farmland, while others came and, after battling the environment and the elements, abandoned the land. Some of these plots were taken over by others, while many tracts remained undeveloped. One major product taken from the Bruce Peninsula forests was the bark from hemlock trees. On average, about 4,000 cords of hemlock were shipped to tanneries in Kitchener, Acton, Listowel, and Toronto. 5. The first sawmill opened in Tobermory in 1881, and within 20 years, most of the valuable timber was gone. Fires then charred the ravaged landscape, and by the 1920s the region was nearly bare of forests. The decline of the industry forced settlers out, and the peninsula experienced a steady population decline until the 1970s, when potential cottagers showed new interest in the region and began to buy land. 6. Bruce Peninsula lumber is no longer a major economic force, but it provided the impetus to settle the region.
From the land of endless skies to the mountains reaching high, I set off on a path unknown. In the wind my stories grow. Across the seas I set my sail, through the rain and through the hail, far from home but never gone, in my heart where I belong. I've seen cities made of gold, heard the stories never told, every step another mile. fun. Journey's end is never done. I've seen cities made of gold, heard the stories never told. Every step, another mile, every face, another smile. Sweet lady dreams and starry night, Christmas in the quiet light. The voice that sings is lullaby, a song that reaches to the sky. Boom, boom, the stars ignite, crazy lights in the darkest night. Sing it loud, sing it right, feel the power, hold on tight.
Flowerpot Island is an island in Georgian Bay in the Canadian province of Ontario, and is a part of Fathom 5 National Marine Park. The island spans 2.1 kilometers (1.3 miles) from east to west and 1.5 kilometers (0.93 miles) from north to south, and has a total area of 2 square kilometers (490 acres). The name of the island comes from 2 rock pillars on its eastern shore, which look like flower pots. A third flower pot once stood but tumbled in 1903. 1. Flowerpot Island is a popular tourist destination, with camping facilities and hiking trails. The island is accessible by cruises and rigid inflatable boats from Tobermory on the Bruce Peninsula. The flowerpots are a type of sea stack, formed over many years as wind, rain, waves and ice hammered away at the cliff that once stood alongside the water's edge. The softer rock eroded more quickly, leaving the harder rock remaining in the shape of flowerpots with trees growing on top.
Flowerpot Island near Tobermory, Ontario, is one of the most beautiful and unique places in our province. The island, part of the Fathom 5 National Marine Park, is famous for its rock columns that resemble flower pots, narrower at the bottom and wider at the top. There are also caves to explore, a historic lighthouse, and hiking trails. It's one of the best places to go hiking around the Bruce Peninsula. Flowerpot Island is part of Fathom 5 National Marine Park and is famous for the 2 rock pillars or sea stacks on its eastern shoreline. There are 4.3 kilometers of well-marked trails that cover the east side of this 200-hectare island and limited dockage at Beachy Cove for shallow draft vessels. The island also contains 6 campsites accessible via the Beachy Cove dock. hike time for Flowerpot Island can range from 1 to 1.5 hours for a quick loop to 3 to 5 hours for a more comprehensive visit, depending on your pace and whether you choose to see the caves, light station, and hike the full loop trail. While the 1.6-mile (2.6 kilometers) Flowerpot Island Loop Trail itself takes about 1 to 1.5 hours to complete, you may want to spend more time exploring the caves, historic light station, and enjoying a picnic, which would extend your visit. Flowerpot Island near Tobermory, Ontario, is one of the most beautiful and unique places in our province. The island, part of the Fathom 5 National Marine Park, is famous for its rock columns that resemble flower pots, narrower at the bottom and wider at the top. There are also caves to explore, a historic lighthouse, and hiking trails. It's one of the best places to go hiking around the Bruce Peninsula.